Benevolent sexism. I think we're all familiar with misogyny, where you can tell that a man doesn't like women in general and wants to put them down and humble them and control them and demean them. But there are other forms of control. There are other forms of humiliation and domination, and they don't seem as bad. We've all probably heard of gaslighting and manipulation and blame shifting. Those are all manipulative techniques that don't have anything to do with gender. But there's one that definitely has to do with gender, and a lot of people haven't heard of it. It's called benevolent sexism. And unlike hostile sexism, unlike misogyny, benevolent sexism can come across as kind or chivalrous, like a statement like, oh, women are too delicate for harsh jobs. But underneath that is the ability to trap women into certain roles, generally subordinate roles, by promoting stereotypes of them as nurturing caregivers, as less competent, as less able to handle stress, as needing male guidance and not being able to think for themselves. And therefore, you're able to justify paying them less, not allowing them opportunities, or them needing to get male permission for whatever it is they're trying to do. And so this is still very much a part of pretty much everyday life for a lot of women. When you're walking down the street and some stranger says, no man likes a woman who, or, why don't you smile more? Or whatever criticism it is where he's trying to get that woman whom he doesn't know and has no right to give advice. He's trying to get her to conform to what he thinks femininity should be. And we've had on social media a lot of discussion about masculinity and femininity, and even this whole topic of, quote, masculine women. And every time that I see that and I have the time, I comment that humans are made of masculine and feminine traits. And every person ever born came from a woman. That means that whatever traits you see in a man, they first were in a woman. Now, we know that men have testosterone at a greater level than women, but women have testosterone too. And if you look at the ancient archetypes of womanhood, women had every trait that can be and has been ascribed to men. Women were fierce. In fact, a lot of people will say there's nothing fiercer than a mother protecting her children. Women were warriors, women were hunters, women were gatherers, women were leaders and organizers and planners. These are not male traits, these are human traits. And benevolent sexism a lot of times tries to make it seem like women being human is women trying to be men. And it tries to shrink women into this very tiny, very controllable set of traits: being quiet, being submissive, being, letting the man lead, being helpful, being the helpmate, all of this stuff. And even going with that idea of a helpmate, religion has been used to perpetuate sexism and patriarchy, especially the three dominant major religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. But again, those religions are only about 3,000, 4,000 years old. They're not that old. Human existence existed for about 294,000 years prior to those religions, and women were seen, again, as generally the creators, the sources, even divinity. So patriarchy has shrunk women into very, very tiny roles, supposedly for their own good. But it's not for their own good. And now, as we remove some of the laws that have held women back, we see women being able to show what they're able to do. And they're far surpassing men in education and employment and buying homes, in a lot of different things. And if we go back through history, we see that a lot of credit that should have been given to women was given to men. And so this whole idea that men built the world and everything that we have is due to men is false, because you couldn't even have anything without a woman giving birth to a man. And the idea that women should submit to something they gave birth to is really strange when you actually think about it. How can something that you gave birth to be greater, more powerful, more worthy of respect than the person who gave birth to it? Really a strange idea. So I think it's been time for humans to be treated as humans. People sometimes call me a feminist, and I'll say, I love feminism, many things about it, but I'm not a feminist because feminism is about fighting against patriarchy to get equality. It sees men and women first off as men and women. I'm an egalitarian. I see people first off as humans, and I want all humans to have the same opportunities, to have the same respect, to have the same dignity, because we are all humans first, not men, not women, humans. And so that's a difference between feminism and egalitarianism. I don't want to be treated as a woman all the time. Sometimes I just want to be seen as a human being. And my womanhood comes second. So if you shouldn't do this to a human, you shouldn't do it to a woman. May you walk in synergy. Benevolent sexism. I think we're all familiar with